go back to the market for a second.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of good solutions.
Yeah.
In the market from a fiber perspective. There are some leaders who've been doing what they're doing for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
I think what we're seeing from an AI demand, I mean, cloud-based services have been driving data center growth, shift from enterprise to cloud service providers over the last
10, 12, 15 years.
Yeah, right. So that's not a new trend.
Right.
The AI boom, if we call it, is cloud-based services on steroids.
Yes.
Right. And at least what I've seen is the fiber market, trying to support current demands with solutions that were designed for older applications.
It brings me back to 10 years ago when when a solution on the market came out, and in a 4U box, right, you can terminate 576 fibers. And that was like a lot, right? And that was an engineering feat, right? So 576 fibers in a 4U will not support an AI data center. That's too many panels, too many cabinets to support the panels. It's just not feasible. When you're talking about densities of 3,456 fibers in a 1U that is being asked of manufacturers to build, right? That solution will not work.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really it's the customer in AI is driving the market into solutions that don't exist yet. So how can you create a solution quickly that's going to be able to support that high demand of fiber?
I wasn't going there with the conversation, but you took it there around development.
Yes.
And why is that important? Why do you think it's important for customers primarily to understand the impact that a custom solution can have?
So I've always said this: your fiber infrastructure should not dictate the data center topology design.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to design your data center around the capabilities of a fiber just because that's the solution on the market that's being sold today.
Yeah.
The customer just says, look, I'm installing X amount of servers, X amount of aggregation points, and I need fiber to connect everything, right? And when we talk about the AI data centers and the GPU interconnects, right? No longer do you have Tor switches when you're using InfiniBand. So that means all of the fiber has to come out of every cabinet back to an aggregation point, a spine leaf pod, right? And land there, and then everything's connected to your leafs, and then your leafs are all connected to your spines. That design dictates the topology, dictates the number of fibers, and actually would dictate the requirements of a solution to support that fiber. Because they don't have racks and racks and racks that they can just plug as many fiber panels in as they want. They have a specific requirement. And if that does not exist, it has to be created. It has to be engineered and designed and delivered quickly.
Yeah.
So how do you do that?
Yeah. And installed quickly. So it's funny. I'm trying not to talk about biophoton too much, right? But I think it's important to understand a couple different things. One is suppliers need to ask questions and listen to their customers, right? Not just from hey, I need 144 fibers from here to there, but I need connectivity from here to here. This is my schedule. This is when I need product, to truly understand the challenges that these customers are facing.
Yep.
To be able to take those requirements to a team an in-house team, right, that can quickly interpret those requirements and design a solution, put a prototype in front of the customer, and see if that hits the mark.
Yep.
Right? See if that's meeting those needs. Does it exceed those requirements? And then move over to scale manufacturing and very fast.
Yeah, so we're talking, and when these data centers are going up now, what used to take a year and a half is now taking between 6 and 9 months to actually build a data center. So we're talking a shortened time frame for that development.
Yeah.
So the customer comes to you and says, hey, the builder says, hey, I need to support X amount of fibers. Do you have a solution to support that? I don't see one on the market. It doesn't exist. So that's where we step in and say, okay, as you just walked through, here's the requirements that I need. This is the amount of fiber that I need. This is the amount of space that I have. That's it. That's what they're going to tell you. Right. I have 1 U of space and I need to put 3456 or 1728 or 864 fibers into that 1 U of space. How am I going to do that? Right? They're less concerned about what this looks like in installation. All they know is we need X amount of fibers in that 1 U space because that's all the space I have for my infrastructure. Okay. So that comes back to us, and that needs to happen fast. So as you say, we go to our team and we say, okay, we need to design something. Then we need to actually build a prototype. And we need to get in front of the end user so that we can say, is this what you need? What do we need to tweak? Then we need to quickly react to that and finalize the product. And then most importantly, as you said, which a lot of people don't think about, you have to scale manufacture it then. So everything we do is we go through the designing process, not just as a performance and a functionality, but also with manufacturing in mind, okay? So that we can easily scale that when it comes time to build it. But the thing I think that's most important that we do differently, when we design a solution, we also keep installation in mind. We also say, okay, we're gonna build this crazy solution that's gonna support 3456, but we're gonna build it in such a way that can be installed quickly and easily, right? By any technician that's out in the field installing the fiber infrastructure.
Gotcha. So, and that's a great point, right? Because do you think that data center operators and owners spend a significant amount of time evaluating their fiber infrastructure?
No.
Why do you think that is?
It's layer one.
Yeah.
Right. What they are most concerned about is architecting a network that's going to be the highest performing, fastest network to support the applications that are being put on it. The architecture is important, the switching is important, the server selection is important, right? The GPUs in the servers are important. And that is what they're thinking about because it's trying to enable those applications to go, right? How it all connects together, it's your fiber. That's easy, right? That's easy.
Right.
But they don't realize that it's not so easy.
Right.
Right. The demands that they're putting on us don't exist for solutions to support those demands.
Right.
So it's an afterthought, right? In a lot of cases, not in all cases.
So how do you think we educate data center customers, data center owners, service providers on one, the magnitude of the cost associated with one, the product, two, the labor, three, the risk of failure, four, the rework, right? How do you think we educate an owner as to the magnitude of the cost and how significant that is in the layer one infrastructure?
From their perspective, they're trying to turn up these data centers like that.
Right.
They are on a schedule, and it's an unrealistic schedule from day one.
Right.
Right. But they're trying to hold all their suppliers to hit their marks for each of the different disciplines that go in. I think it's less about cost. I really do. I think it's more about how quickly the installation velocity, right? How quickly can I get this installed, up and running, and get the data center going? So
yes,
how do you educate them to that?
Yeah,
you've got to hit them in the pocketbook.
Yeah,
all the education is, this is all great, and the things that we designed this for installation, for no testing, the level of technician that it's required to install this. Any technician can do it no matter what level they are. All of that's great. But at the end of the day, it's how fast can I get this installed?
Right.
How can you create a solution that allows me to turn up my data center faster?
So it sounds like what you're saying is we need to be able to articulate how much we have to quantify that. And we've just got to evangelize that message to the people who are concerned about how fast and effectively that data center is turned up.
Real world installation comparison of a traditional solution using pre-terminated LC connectors versus HyperReach solution. Real world situation taking everything into account, the pulling of the cable, seating the modules in, plugging these into the adapter panel. The traditional way of doing it versus HyperReach real world application shows an 83% increase in 83% decrease in the time it takes to install a complete fiber infrastructure. 83% faster. That's what's going to resonate. That's the number that people need to hear.
So if we're talking about I know we're seeing data centers with hundreds of thousands of fiber connections.
Yes. Millions of fiber terminations.
Yes.
That's the magnitude of and scale of the data centers that are being installed today. 100 megawatt data center is millions of connections.
Millions of connections.
Whether it's duplex, whether it's 16 fiber, very small form factor connector, millions of connectors are being deployed into a data center of that magnitude.
Do you think at any point a data center owner asks themselves the question, how much is that costing me? How much does the fiber infrastructure cost me?
I think what happens is that at the front end of the process, they're asking that question. When they're figuring out their budget, their funding to build that data center, they're asking that question, right? They're picking a number and then they're holding everybody to it. So they're going to your ICT manager that's managing your fiber infrastructure, your physical layer infrastructure, and saying, here's the budget we've given you. You need to hit that budget. And just about every time that budget is too low. The budgetary number that they were thinking, they're not taking into account all that goes into installing this fiber infrastructure into this panel that goes into the fiber panel at the end of the day, and then testing it to make sure it works. They're, I think, grossly under evaluating what it takes to actually do that.
Gotcha.
So now how is that ICT manager that's in charge of making sure all the fiber infrastructure is installed, how does he hit that budget?
Right. He can't.
No.
Right.
Now he's got to find a solution that's going to allow him to do the installation quicker and at a lower cost. The more we can do in the factory, the more efficiently it's done, the quicker it's done, right? It's actually built. And then the easier we can make it for the installers to install it quickly, that's how you're going to hit those budgets.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I think, when we're talking about the scale that we're talking about, when we're talking about millions, we talk about Biophoton being the AI fiber guys, right? Yes. Because we're talking about the density and the rapid construction schedules, the short construction schedules. And we're talking about millions of fiber connections. That 80% that we're talking about, that scales across that magnitude as well, right?
Absolutely.
So, one of the other challenges that I consistently hear is these construction sites are busy and it's high traffic and multiple contractors coming in, coming out. You've got lighting, you've got walls, you've got, every trade in there, the electricians. And the more people on site, the more complexity that comes up, the more risk associated, the more opportunity for something like this to get broken, right?
Yes.
So one of the challenges I consistently hear customers talk about is juggling the multiple trades in the same space at the same time, all working on a very short schedule.
Yeah.
So another reason, yes, it's important that this gets installed quickly because it costs less than labor and you're getting the project turned up faster.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is you don't have people stumbling over each other from a trade perspective as well. You've got electricians in there. You can get your layer one infrastructure guys in and out in a day.
Yes. Yes. Great point. That's a great point.